Hello and welcome to Learn Oslo Innovation Week. I'm Sylvia Seres and my guest is Synne Foss Budal from No Fence. Welcome, Synne.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I'm just going to say a few words about this conversation and the series it belongs to, and then we'll get into the pudding. Learn has partnered with Oslo Innovation Week to communicate in advance some of the most exciting events and talks that will be happening during this week in October. And the idea is that if people think that this is interesting and would like to hear more, then they can go to oiw.no and look at the program and register to participate in the live event itself, which will be mainly digital. And there are 5 main tracks, and this is the conversation that we have selected for the track called Scaling for Growth, or Scaling Your Growth. And No Fence is a company I'm really, really fascinated by, and I'm very much looking forward to hear your story, Synne, both in terms of innovation and research, sustainability, but also as a scaling and very successful international business. So welcome. And we always start by asking people to say a few words about themselves. So this is not a kind of a stiff interview. This is a chat. And who is Synne and why should we listen to her?
Yeah, so my name is, as you said, Synne, and I am currently the general manager of No Fence UK. And my background is so I did my university degree actually in economics and politics in the UK. So I do apologise for the accents being affected by many years in the UK. And then prior to that, my family and we lived down in Singapore. So I did my high school was IUB diploma. And other than school and work, it's been a lot of golf. But right now, my life is pretty much this. So me and my partner have moved to the UK. So we currently live in just outside of Birmingham. And our office is based at the Agri Epicenter. And this is what we do now. So very much enjoying this adventure with No Fence.
Very cool. So Synne, usually I ask people if they have some sort of an eccentric hobby, but being an entrepreneur, maybe that's eccentric enough, or?
It is. Yeah, it is. It takes over your life really. But I do enjoy it. And I think especially when you go into new markets like we do, it's key to be there for your customers. So every customer pretty much now I have 130 and all of them have my private number. So I get texts on Saturday evenings and, it's important to be there and help out. So, and for us, we have the fact that both of us work in No Fence and then, it eventually just becomes a part of your life. But I enjoy that. I think it's nice.
Very
recommended.
Recommended if your kind of health and family can support it.
Definitely.
Yeah, very cool. So tell us about No Fence.
Yeah, so No Fence we do virtual fencing for livestock, for cattle, sheep and goats. And it is a system where you collar the animals. So you put a GPS tracker almost around their neck. And then we have an app that our customers download on their phone where they draw pastures, they put down posts, and what happens then when the animal gets to the boundary is that there is a pitch or a note that gets higher and higher in pitch, and if they hear the audio when they cross the boundary and they turn around, because they know if I don't turn around, I have a pulse. So my normal way of talking about it is that when you have visible physical fences that we're used to, the animals use their eyes so they can see the fence and avoid the discomfort. Now we're just swapping, so we're using their listening skills. And if you think about it, I'd say listening skills work a lot better in the dark because you can hear the fence regardless of the light. So it's just completely. It's a bit revolutionary because I think that, fencing hasn't really seen a proper update since we had electrical fencing back in the 70s.
Yeah, very cool. So I thought that there was a thing around there. So this is a service that could easily be useful for humans as well. Not exactly, the same.
Definitely.
But I, for some reason, I was thinking that there is a thing around the legs or one of the legs of the animal, and that there was an electric signal. But that's not what you do.
No. So there is that collar, which looks like a small. It doesn't look very delicate at the moment. We'll get there, but it works. So it is a box underneath the neck, and then there is a chain that goes around the neck. And you can imagine that being a positive and a negative. So the pulse is applied around the neck if necessary. So yeah, but no other installments as of now. There is obviously the future is ahead. So we don't know what it's going to look like.
And so tell us what's the advantage of having this in the dark, obviously, but are there other advantages to like animal welfare or management of your livestock?
Yeah. So I think animal welfare definitely, and we need to agree on where we start when we talk about animal welfare, because I think animal welfare for ruminants or livestock is to do their natural behaviour, and the natural behaviour for a cattle is or a sheep or a goat is the fact I've got 4 legs and I'm going to use them to find my own food. And that is what the cattle is made to do. It's not made to stand inside and be fed. It's an outdoor animal, and livestock has always been part of our ecosystem, and they've moved in herds across our landscape. We have domesticated them. So it's important for us to create a system where we can create the natural pattern of their movements in a city or around a city, because we've built infrastructure and we've built roads, which makes it impossible then for to move in the pattern that they would. So there is that. The animal welfare goes down to doing what you're meant to do. And then I think the sustainability and the opportunity lies in utilising our grasslands. So Norway is a good example of how we have a lot of area that we're not using. So the animals have moved closer and closer to the farm, because it's not effective to have animals outside in what we call utmark, or uncultivated mountain landscape, but they actually belong there. So we need to put them back out there and utilise that area. And then I think the second part, which is the exciting bit, which is when we come to the UK and we look at rotational grazing or regenerative agriculture, where you put the management of the animals, because everyone here is pretty much using the land they have available. But now we're looking at how can we actually move the animals in a pattern to maximise the growth of the grass and animal health and animal growth. And that's really exciting because, sorry.
No. So there is innovation here at several levels. So I can see how this can, both be a good thing for the beauty of the landscape and the management of your livestock. So there's the virtual side, but there is also the dynamic side, where you say that there's this rotational use of pastures. Maybe we need, so it's not just virtual, it's also dynamic, in the sense that you can decide that today my pasture is here and tomorrow it's there, and actually in the meantime I also want my stock to move, and I'm kind of directing them as I'm planning this.
So I always talk about it as, if you look at no fence replacing your stock fencing, as we call it, where it's just like posts around the field, you don't see the full potential, because the full potential is when you see, all right, how can I actually move my stock according to a plan to optimize their performance? So definitely you picked up on the right thing, which is dynamic, because it is, instead of going out in the field and moving fences, you're looking at doing it on the phone. I have customers in the UK who spent, I have, by worst case, I think he told me in the high season during summer, he spends 5 hours a day moving fences. And I just physically going out in the field, rolling up temporary electric fences, and then putting them back out and moving stock. And now we're looking at that happening on your phone. And you can imagine then the potential in sort of, because right now it's just a tool, but we want to become the carpenter as well. So we have all that data that we are accumulating on steps, on how often the animals lay down, how often do they stand up, and how can we become that tool for the farmer to maximize or optimize their grazing, because right now it belongs to experts or hippies in the field, but we want it to become the conventional way of doing livestock management.
So two things here I'd really like to go further with. One is the business case for the farmer. The reason why your company is growing is because you're able to present this as a kind of a no-brainer, both in terms of sustainability, but also in terms of economics. And then let's start with that. So there is the saved money, I guess, from all this movement of fences. Then there is also the better collaboration with the nature management, municipal administration, etc. That's the dynamic bit also with your neighbors, and perhaps then the third bit is also eventually figuring out what you can learn about your livestock and optimizing their lives from all this movement data.
Definitely, and I think what the farmer gets back, there are, the pure financial things that the farmer is looking for is how much meat can I produce with the input that I put in. And what we're looking at is a replacement for a lot of the things that a farmer will have on their list of expenses right now. So right now they'll have, fertilizers, and then you have, like in Norway, you have a long winter season. So winter feeding is the biggest cost for most farmers, which is where they harvest, and feed them over winter. But you can imagine if we can, by optimizing the grazing management, we can stretch the grazing season. Let's say we can do a month in one end and then a month in the other end, then that is proper bottom line changes for a farmer. And as you say, having that learning ability to see, right, how do my animals perform the best? Because a lot of that has been tied up to genetics and improving sort of what breed do I have that, gains the most weight. But now we can look at if we can actually give the animals good quality grass all the time or for a longer time, then you earn more money per animal without putting any more in, which is what we want.
So one of the other things I wanted to talk to you about is so very good at translating things to bottom line, but also very good at learning, I think, from other related areas. So in Norway, we have fish farming, and we use a lot of data and AI, and some of the most interesting kind of smart farming solutions I've seen in the world related to these fish farms. And one of the things that they use a lot is, fish visual AI, but also just positioning data and AI on that to understand the level of stress in the fish, to understand the health of the fish, to understand the growth of the fish, etc. And I'm thinking, if you use the movement data of the stock, if you have enough of it, eventually, do you see that you can use the data on how the sheep move, for example, to understand if they have been extra hungry or extra stressed lately?
Definitely, and that's definitely there. We can already see from our data. Obviously, I don't want to give anything to customers that they're not going to find any value in. So right now it's something that we have, but we can see when an animal's in heat. So when we say that an animal's in heat, this means it's ready to breathe, basically. And the activity data, we can compare it to the herd. So we can see when an animal's underperforming compared to the rest of the herd. And this movement data is so valuable to tell something about an animal's health. Then becomes, all right, do we need to measure the temperature of the animal? Can we say something about how much they're laying down? Does that say anything about health? And that is definitely going to become a thing. Right now, the data is related to the collar, so the movement of the collar, not necessarily connected to this. Although we put it on one animal, you can take it off and take it on another animal. So that disturbs the data. But one day, when we get to the point where we can collect the data that we collect with an animal ID, because I think we are competing about the space around an animal's neck, because agriculture is becoming so data driven that whoever has, everything that the farmer needs is going to win that space. And in order to do that, I think we definitely need to develop animal health as part of it.
Very interesting. So now if we start looking at scaling, tell us a little bit about your growth story as a company, and what are the success factors?
So Norway, I think Nofen's success factor is that we haven't, actually it's been an advantage for us not having been massively funded ever. We've always been a company where we kind of lived on the edge of what we can handle, and it's ended up in a place where we've sold prototypes in the market. But what we've learned from that is so much, because we've collected 75 million hours of grazing on pasture, and I just had to take my hat off to all the Norwegian farmers who have bought our products and have to ship them back, and there's been issues with the GPS and there's been this and that, but we've learnt so much from actually having the product where it needs to be, because we can drop the collar from tall buildings and we can run tractors over it, but the proper test is to put it on animals in a grazing season and to see the effect and learn from that. So up until sort of in 2020, end of 2020, that was our strategy, and then we had a successful emission, which was really good after the year of COVID, where everything kind of just for a second there just completely dropped down, and the growth in the UK, I think when I went into the UK, I think it was focusing a lot on what does the UK farmers need and what are they looking for to improve? Because I think Norway is unique in the way that we do farming and the way our country is. And now that we go to the UK, it's in completely different settings. So we need to understand what are they trying to do in the UK and how can we fit in.
Very cool. I also like the fact that you're talking both about, a lean and agile hardware development. So obviously you've been testing both the robustness, but also the animal friendliness of your product, but also the software side of it. Did I understand you correctly, 65 million hours?
75 million hours counting that is hours of grazing that we call it. So basically that means that an animal has been wearing the collar and then spin outside eating grass.
And are you collaborating with somebody who can kind of beat the AI shit out of this data? So, find some interesting interesting things that we didn't know about animal welfare and health.
So we do a lot of research with now I think we have ongoing, it's going to be up to 15 projects across the world with universities, because they're also nice for a kind of legal entry into a country. But we're at the point where right now it's kind of I would say a sort of a breaking point in my eyes, because we're at the point where we have a fence function that works, because you can't have a product that doesn't work. So for us, that's been really key. And our bedrock is what we live for. So as long as we have that good bedrock, now we can start building on that added value service and looking in and analysing all that data. And I think that's definitely going to come up in the next couple of months or so, because the real potential is there. But the product in itself is so revolutionary that we mustn't forget, I think, that there is still a lot to pick up.
Very cool. So, how do you go international? So you've worked really well with Norwegian farmers. Norway, I don't know if everybody who listens to us knows, because we have an international audience now. It is a very digitally fast-moving country. So we have a great network infrastructure, and everybody, all the farmers including, are digitally enabled. Everybody has the latest phone and the latest whatever they need for their work, and they're comfortable using it. So you managed to open up the market in Norway, And then you said you work with universities for some international entries, but still, how does one go? And I think many companies in Norway struggle with exactly that step, So how do you go from being a very interesting Norwegian company to being an interesting global company?
Oh, that is a very good question. I would have to say, I think there is firstly an understanding. Start with sort of what is your unique selling point? What are you trying to do? And finding how can I fit into other countries, and understanding the context of where you go in. So for us, we have a few kind of no-brainers with the system today that helps us kind of guide, all right, where to go, where not to go. Being a Norwegian company, for us, it was kind of self-said, as long as we are Norwegian, we need to be in a country where we can speak English, for one matter, because let's say we launch in a country and there is support and we can't handle it because it's in a language we don't know. So that's one thing. And then it is looking at sort of finding those countries. For us, it was finding those countries that are forward leading as well. So the UK, as an example, has where the government's gone out and said we're going to be world leaders on agri-tech in the next coming years, and it's been one of their strategies, and that's something that we try to pick up. And for us also, our products is quite particular with animal welfare and legal regulations. So it's been trying to do some research, figuring out, right, where can we go and where can't we go? There are some countries who have bans on collars on animals. Then obviously you don't go there. And I think, but the biggest one we probably followed is where is the interest? Because we are in the lucky position where we don't have many competitors. I'm hopeful that they're going to arrive, because I think it's good with competition. But the interest is from all over the world. So every day we get, requests from Africa, South Africa, Australia, New Zealand, the US, Canada, and the UK. And that's also obviously went into the decision of going to the UK, because we saw that the interest was there. They had the ability to pay, and the legal side of things was easier for us to enter. So I don't know if I have any other advice. Then it's a bit of follow your gut as well, to be honest. Yeah.
And then it's a matter of basically being able to find people.
Yep.
How do you go about that? Do you have international events where you make sure that you look for talent, or?
Yeah, no, I think that the key thing is to build a network in the right. For us, agri-tech and agriculture is quite nice in that way, because it's often quite close knit, and sort of finding people get in touch with us. We've been in the fortunate position where we can have people come to us and say, we want to work with you because what you're doing is the next chapter, which is really nice to hear. So for us, it's been firstly building communities with customers, because customers are the best ones to spread the news. They're much better than marketing in my eyes, because we talk about, in No Fence, we talk about a neighbour effect, we call it. Because if I have one farmer who uses No Fence, then I can have 10 farmers around that who's also going to pick up on No Fence, because they talk to each other, and farmers, they trust each other. So for me, it's been about, when I looked at customers for the first year, I was trying to find those that I can spread out, who are the ones that are going to talk about us, and then building a community of those. And that helps us then, connect with organisations, connect with the Farmers Union, and then we can pick up on, the Red Tractor Assurance, which is like quality schemes. And there's always that person who knows someone, and then eventually governments. So I would start there. And the nice thing about customers that are keen is that they're such a driving force, because they'll pretty much do anything to get your product. Which is finding
these ambassadors or fyrtårn. What's the English word?
I don't know. I'd say ambassador is a good one. Evangelist
for your product. Yeah, really, really important. Sine, I want to ask you also another thing. So you talk about, the business case in Norway is basically cutting the cost of fencing, but also being able to do dynamic movement of your livestock. In England, the rotational stuff is very important. Yeah. Perhaps also collaboration with neighbors. Maybe, you can share your grounds today or this year and his grounds next year. Or, are there other countries with completely new needs that you still haven't opened up? Maybe there are countries where you actually have to protect the livestock from wild animals. Or maybe you need to, maybe they have special watering rights where you have to manage that in a particular way.
There is always something, I can tell you that for sure. So every place you go, there is something new that you have to overcome. And definitely the one we did choose UK for the particular reason, the lack of predators. Because if you have predators, then I can fence animals in, I just can't fence anything out. So I think we haven't yet seen something that's unusual because we are going quite specifically towards those who want to manage their grazing better. And right now, that is a movement of people. Kind of, I would say the source of it is the Alan Savory Institute, and I do recommend having a look at the Alan Savory if people get the chance, because it's he is the father of regenerative agriculture, and what this practice is most often it's not necessarily the land that you have close to your farm where you move your animals in a certain pattern, and that practice in itself is general for anyone who does livestock management. So it's about having higher stocking densities, as we call it, which means more animals per area, and then I move them more often. So I give the grass rest, and then I give them fresh grass. And that is so general that if we have that, there isn't many places we don't fit in, but there is always kind of adjustments that we need to make.
Right. Sine, we are moving towards the end of our allotted time, and I want to spend the last 3 minutes asking you 3 questions. One is, we usually ask people to recommend another really interesting innovation case, and you've mentioned orbital machines as a case you are impressed. Who are they?
So I think it's the interesting thing about that case is they spun out of my hometown, which I obviously really like, Trondheim, and it's a student at university in Trondheim who made this electric is a diesel pump, and tiny little Norwegian innovation. And NASA's been interested in it, and they picked up funding, and they've now they have a setup in Germany as well. And I think the cool thing about it, which I think we can learn from, is to understand that we in Norway, we're really good at that, those kind of tiny little things, but then we need to make it scalable. So we need to take it out and we need to make it scalable and apply it somewhere else. And that's why I like orbital machines, because I think they're a good example of that practice that we need to get better at, because we need to have something after the oil. And I think that is a good example of where we're going.
I think you're very right. I think we are extremely good at creating industrially applicable technology that's super advanced and also very digitally clever. And we are very, very good at things like, cybernetics and sensors and communication tech and networks and all of this combined for amazing hardware and software. And we need to get better at positioning it for sales and new business models. And that's what both no-fence and orbital machines do really well.
Yeah.
I want to ask you also, you recommended a documentary on Netflix called Kiss the Ground. And I'm a fan of learning from Netflix. What is Kiss the Ground about?
So Kiss the Ground is actually it's a climate change documentary, or about how can we battle climate change. And I feel it gives me hope that there actually is something that we can turn around, because every time I look at the way we handle climate change, we talk about small things. We talk about electric cars. We talk about sort of how we can, remove diesel cars, or we can this new kind of tax on
non-plastic spoons.
Non-plastic bags. And I'm thinking these are like that they're so tiny. But then Kiss the Ground gives us hope that if we regenerate our soil, which is basically what can hold our CO2, our carbon, because the issue is not carbon, it never has been. Carbon is just where it is. And that one talks about where the carbon should be. It should be in our soil and be productive and not be in the atmosphere, increasing global temperatures. So it's a really good, I will say it's a bit American in the sense that they're quite like ethos emotional, but enjoyable. So I do recommend it.
Very cool. And then my final question is, what's the most important thing we talked about? What do you want people to remember from our conversation?
Oh, that is a good one. I would say that Norwegian technology we have to remember that it's groundbreaking, but we need to take it a step further and bring it into the world. And for that, we need a lot of people. So we don't just need people who know technology and can do or create technology, but we need those that can actually push it and push it out to a global community, because I'm not a technician. I never have been, but so we need young people today need to own their future, and like you've said before, that the future belongs to those who create it. We really have the setup to do that in Norway. Just take it out.
Synne, thank you so much for this inspiring and educational conversation.
Thank you too, Sylvia.